And without further delay, I'd like to bring up Kate McKee presenting her talk on the intriguing topic of Schadenfreude. Thank you.
Can anyone here guess what the most popular word of 2013 was? Well, I don't know what you're thinking, but I can take a guess at what some kids my age would think. Maybe it's hashtag, the term that was used on almost all social media websites. Or maybe it was selfie, the term that got so popular last year that it even had a song written about it. Well, I don't know what those words were used quite a lot. They were used enough for them to get into the top 50 on the Global Language Monitor's list of the most popular words of 2013. But the number one word? Well, that was actually the number 404, a fault when loading an internet page. And some may even describe it as a failure. That makes the most sense, considering that the number 2 most used word was fail. And the word fail has become very popular in our modern day culture. For example, there are hundreds of videos all over the internet of people falling, running into walls, getting hit in the face, and overall failing. Let me show you an example. Now, I can tell that many of you laughed, and also many of you did not. And I'm guessing that the reason some of you weren't laughing is because you're trying to hide the fact that you're amused, or you feel guilty, or the small chance that you actually did not enjoy that clip in any way. But let's be real here, that video was pretty funny. But for those of you that were laughing, think about exactly what you were laughing at. You were laughing at someone else's misfortune, and you feel pleasure from that person's misery. How do you feel about laughing now that you know that the person falling in that video is in this room right now? Well, you'll see her later, but that's not what I'm talking about tonight. Tonight I'm talking about Schadenfreude. Now, I know that's a big word, so let me help you all out. Schadenfreude. S-C-H-A-D-E-N-F-R-E-U-D-E. Schadenfreude. This means enjoyment or pleasure derived from the misfortune of others. But in most simple terms, this means that you find it funny when other people mess up. Our pleasure from someone else's pain comes with a lack of empathy. And one group that has a very strong lack of empathy is the group named by Time magazine, the Millennials. This means anyone born between the early 1990s through the early 2000s. That's right, today's teenagers experience Schadenfreude more than anyone else. But unlike any other generation, the millennials are also called the trophy generation. The idea of the trophy generation comes from when the author Ron Asloff used the term in his book called The Trophy Kids Grow Up. The idea of the trophy kids talks about how kids in our generation are being handed everything they ask for, and they aren't taught the meaning of working hard to reach success. But our generation is always winning, but not necessarily for the right reasons. For example, most children as young as preschool and as old as seniors in high school participate in sports. And one thing that is becoming very common among most young sports leagues is the participation award. Now, we know that whoever wins is awarded with a trophy or some other sort of recognition that they have done better than everyone else. But if this is the case, then why are more and more people being rewarded? Well, this is because parents or coaches or whoever is running the sporting events feels bad for the people that are coming in second place or are losing, so they reward them to make them feel better. But what's the point of winning if everyone gets to win? Let me ask you, how many of you parents have ever talked to a teacher or coach in order to make sure your child succeeds? Well, at first glance, this doesn't seem too bad. I mean, what's so bad about making some little kids feel good about themselves? But there has to be a downside. And in this case, the downside is the unawareness of failure. Because we are rewarded for everything we do, we don't realize that whoever failing is probably hurt or upset. We laugh because we can never envision any of this happening to us. And this can have a negative effect on us because we aren't learning to empathize with other people's feelings. And without the ability to feel bad for people, we are being taught that success is easy and that failure is unacceptable. And that failure is easy and that success is easy and that failure is unacceptable. Now, think back to that video I showed earlier. That video was just one of thousands of others you can find on the internet. And videos of this genre gain up to millions of views on YouTube. And there are also shows like America's Funniest Home Videos and Wipeout, just made for you to sit back and watch other people make mistakes. And it's not just TV and videos. I found a joke brand of popsicles cleverly titled Schadenfreezers, and they are just like any other, except with surprisingly mean-spirited jokes such as, why was the circus closed? A long, chilling list of animal rights violations. Our pleasure, because we are growing up with a lack of empathy, we are being taught that success is easy and that failure is unacceptable, and this brings out our competitive nature. The writer Gore Vidal said, "It is not enough to succeed, others must fail." And this is true because we want not only to be good for ourselves, but to be better than our competitors. Arthur Schopenhauer was a philosopher from Germany who thought a lot about this topic. He spoke about Schadenfreude and its causes, meanings, and effects. Schopenhauer deemed Schadenfreude the worst trait in human nature, and I believe this is because it is a very selfish characteristic. It is natural to feel envious of people, but to feel joy from other people's misfortune is just cruel. Schopenhauer also believed that that people with low self-esteem mostly experience Schadenfreude, but the trophy generation proves this wrong. The trophy generation has anything but low self-esteem. By being rewarded for everything they do, they think they are good at everything, resulting in very high self-esteem. And we think so highly of ourselves because we always win. Nevertheless, the idea of Schadenfreude can be considered okay. I mean, competitiveness is a part of our human nature, and our whole lives depend on our success. We want to do better because we know we will benefit from it. So, is the trophy generation better off? Does being deprived of failure help them? No. We are living our lives being rewarded for things we might not deserve. In schools, we could be getting grades that aren't really our grades. And in our sports or other hobbies, we could be thinking we're good at something when truly we are not. And this can lead to us becoming arrogant and unaware of our true abilities. In the future, the trophy generation is going to have to work hard for their reward, and they won't know how. They won't know that sometimes it might take hours, even days to complete a task, much less be rewarded for it. And I don't know about you, but I want to be able to know early on that I'll be able to succeed in the future on my own. So, what's so wrong with society? I believe that society is putting a very negative vibe around the idea of failure. They're only looking at the negatives, but why not look at the positives? Giving the millennials a small taste of what it is like to fail would not hurt them. They would actually benefit from it. You can exploit your failures and use them to help you in the future. Some may say that the best way to learn is from your mistakes. And also, like some of the most famous inventions, like Post-it notes, Play-Doh, and the microwave, were invented by mistake. Learning how to fail can also teach you how to plan ahead more, because you will think things out, because you wouldn't want your actions or decisions to be sloppy or flawed. And, as I explained earlier, learning how to fail will teach you how to empathize with people and appreciate that not everyone is always going to succeed. So, maybe let's just forget all the negatives and let all the children fail. I'm just kidding. Clearly we shouldn't let all the children fail. And we wouldn't want a huge generation of kids to be emotionally scarred by a huge failed experience. Of course we should want to succeed, but learning how to fail is critical. On the way to your greatest achievement, there will always be small failures you will run into, but you can learn from them. Like Arthur Schopenhauer, I believe that Schadenfreude is the worst trait in human nature. And even though it is a big word, we need to teach it to the younger generations because it truly applies to them. So maybe let's all get excited and fail a little, or at least learn to appreciate it rather than to laugh at it. And in the words of Bill Gates, it is fine to celebrate success, but more important to heed the lessons of failure. Thank you.